Hey everyone! So I just finished digging and setting up a pit smoker for smoking hides, and right now I have it set up in something I call basket style for smoking small furs, because I'm going to be smoking one brain-tanned fox fur and some of my old furs right now. So it's not set up for deer at the moment. It's easy to flip to deer. Right now it's set up for small furs, so I just wanted to show you what that looks like. This is my favorite way to smoke hides, is with a pit smoker. There's so many different ways to smoke hides though, but this is my favorite. Here we go. Okay, so here's my pit fire setup. I chose a spot, one of the only spots on the property that's shady for most of the day, because that's nice when you're smoking hides. You want to be comfortable, because it's a place you're going to be hanging out in for hours and hours at a time. And it should be a quiet, meditative place. Smoking hides to me is a great meditation. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. So I just finished this today. What you can see here is just a deep hole. So pit smoking, you can really only do this in clayey soil because you need to dig quite a deep hole. This hole is probably, when I reach in, about shoulder, it goes up to my shoulder. So maybe that's 3 feet or something. And the hole is quite narrow in diameter, and pretty circular, pretty perfectly circular. So, you know, these walls of the hole are very hard because the soil is very clayey. It's also extremely dry, so it's very hard to dig. It doesn't have to be dry. It can be nice moist clay. That works great. But maybe the diameter of the hole is a little over a foot, but anywhere in that range. You want to keep it as small as you can using a shovel. So I use a shovel for this, and just be very careful about how to make the diameter of the hole as small as you can and round, and just try to dig straight down with your shovel. So it takes a while, but once you have a pit dug, you can use it for quite a while. And you know, sometimes once I get about halfway down the depth of the hole dug, then I'm just kind of continuing to use my shovel to like break apart the dirt, and then at that point I'm going to use my hands to reach down in there to keep scooping out, handful by handful of dirt. So, oh my god, the soil was so dry. It's one of the harder pits I've had to dig. Now, I like to do this, if I can, find a spot that has a tree branch over it. This tree branch right here. Directly above the hole, so that I could hang rope directly from that tree branch and have a way to hang deer hides directly over the hole without having to set up a tripod over it. So if you can't find a good branch spot, then you just need to set up a tripod. So like 3 long pieces of bamboo set up in a tripod, very tall tripod over the hole, or 3 young saplings. And that's for hanging your deer hides. But right now I set it up basket style. So you can see I just kind of created a little basket on top of the hole. I usually just use suckers, shoots from like a maple stump. Maples actually usually have the best suckers. So, you know, all the many little growths that are coming out of an old stump. Just cut several of them, the tallest and strongest that you can. They're very flexible. So sharpen both ends with your knife, and often then you can just stick those sharp ends straight in the ground, you know, on both sides of the hole. But this soil was so darn hard and so darn dry that, oh my god, I had to like dig little holes in order to get the little suckers in there. So that's not ideal. But if the ground is more moist, you can just shove them right in there. And I just kind of do it, you know, no real technical right or wrong way. Just kind of, you know, do like 3 in a triangle or something, and then just kind of weave in a few more, just enough so that hides could lay on top of this without falling in the hole. Now, before you smoke hides, you want to get all set up. You want to have all your stuff ready, because you cannot leave the spot once you smoke your hides. That's why it's such a great meditation. So I'm going to start a fire. So I have my kindling ready, some fluffy stuff, little twigs, bigger twigs to start my fire. I have my punk wood all collected, at least 2 gallons worth, which I have here. This is Eastern Red Cedar punk, which I've never used before, and I've been completely mystified since being here recently. It is punk wood in general, no matter from what tree, is the incense of this world. Few people get to experience this incense, but to me it is one of the greatest majesties and wonders and beauties of being alive. But this Eastern Red Cedar punk, oh my God, is it fragrant when it smokes. I got my hides already, all of them in here that I'm hoping to smoke. Here's the one fox that has never been smoked before, so this is going to be my first important project. And that fox was in a past video. I think the video discussion about brain tanning. And then you're going to need a little seat. Have a little rock here. You need to stay put. So I'm going to start a fire deep down in the hole, a little fire. Once the fire burns down to some warm, pretty hot coals, I'm going to throw my punk wood on top of it until it's smoking vigorously. And then I'm going to carefully arrange my fur hides on the basket. So here I've started a little fire in my hole, and the thing is that you want to try to keep the fire tiny, so only add a tiny bit of sticks, because you don't want the flames to get so high that they completely burn your green wood here to smithereens, and then you have no more basket. So it kind of can be tricky. It's okay if the flames lick this a little bit, because green wood isn't going to burn readily. It'll just kind of scorch. So, but you want to get a nice bed of hot coals in there, because that bed of hot coals is what's going to be feeding the burning of your punk wood. So really let that little fire burn down as much as it possibly can to coals before you pile on the punk. So I waited 5 or 10 minutes for my fire to die down, threw on a handful of small chunks of very dry punk, and then waited, 5 or 10 minutes for that punk smoke to really get going. You want to wait until you're really getting billows and billows of smoke, not just like a wee bit. So it's starting to billow, and that's what I want. So now I'm going to pile on my hides. Okay, so hopefully I can show you what I'm doing here. So I'm always putting my hand right in here first, because if it feels too hot for my hand, it's too hot for the hide. This should feel nice and cool, warm, because you never want to scorch your hide. That's the way to fuck this up. So I'm just going to wrap my hide around the basket. In such a way that I plug up all the holes that I can. And there's a big space on this side, so that's why it's nice to have a lot of other hides, even old hides, to fill in the gaps. So I'm using this old fox that needs to be re-smoked anyway. And he's going to fill in this gap over here. Okay, so here's my little hide smoking mound. I have a mountain of furs with kind of all the holes of the basket plugged up. Of course there's going to be smoke pouring out. But mainly I'm just want to be able to slip my hand underneath there so I can feel the heat. Make sure I'm not feeling any hot flames coming up to burn and scorch and destroy my hides. And that's it. I'm just going to do this for quite a while. See how easy that is? No sewing up obnoxious little bags out of your furs to smoke them like a tube. Oh my God, I don't do that anymore. So much work. Smells good. And just to show you that at a certain point, I just start piling other stuff on. So anything else I have that needs to be smoked. Because I'm like, oh, there's a lot of smoke coming out there. I want to freshen up this hat. I'll kind of just pile that on top. Plug that little hole if I've got another bag. So, things that don't need to be smoked for preservation, but which you just kind of want to freshen up. Old stuff, old hides. garments, you can just kind of keep heaping them on here, which is what I often do. Okay, so maybe overall it's been 45 minutes or something. I took off the hides. Just so you know, I moved around the hides several times, and I encourage you to do that. Like sometimes if the fire's just feeling too hot, I'll like take all the hides off, throw on some more punk, reposition the hides, put them back on. So the repositioning I actually like, 'cause I just feel like it helps all the parts of the hide get smoked better since you're not stitching it into a bag. So here's the fox hide. It is looking pretty good. It's kind of yellowish. It's much brighter yellow in person, quite bright yellow, though it does have some teeny little white spots kind of here. So it's a pretty good smoke job. I do like to be super thorough smoking brain-tanned furs the very first time they're smoked, so I may smoke it again tomorrow. I think I'm just feeling a little tired. It's been a long day, but definitely good. You can see the difference between this old fox of mine who's been resmoked every single year for, I don't know, at least 5 years. You can see the difference in darkness of how much smoke is accumulated on this fox. But yeah, not bad. Fire's still smoking. Yeah, I'm gonna call it a day. Bye-bye, guys. Hey everyone, so just to recap, the pit smoker is just one of many setups you can do to build a smoker. Why I like it is because you don't need any extra equipment. So you don't need to, travel around with a little grill set up or a big terracotta flower pot or something like that. So that's the nice benefit of it. You can, I can travel to different places, and if I have a shovel and relatively clayey soil, I can just set up a pit smoker. Yeah, so if you're in a place that has really sandy soil or where the soil is so dry and rocky that you really can't dig, then you're going to need to do a different setup. So this is very specific to the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic. Some things to just emphasize again are you really need to make the hole deep. So when I say the hole is, as deep as if my hand is in the hole up to my shoulder, I mean, that really is almost a good 3 feet. So really deep. It's quite deep for how small the diameter of the hole is. And that's extremely important because you need a lot of space in between the hot coals and the smoking punk wood and your hides, right? So don't do this if you can only dig a foot or two down, because the coals are going to be too hot that close to your hides that they're going to cook or burn your hides and ruin them. So yeah, just really emphasize, keep the hole very deep. Yeah, and you just really got to feel, constantly slip your hand under there and make sure you're not feeling a hot flame rising up. Sometimes even if it's just feeling like the steam or the smoke is getting too hot, I'll just kind of rip all the hides off and let the punk wood chill out a little bit for 5 minutes and then put the hides back on. So I really babysit the smoker, really do. And to me, smoking is it's like such a quiet, meditative activity. I mean, around here lately with all these other hide tanners, it's been like sitting around the smoke pit chatting and working on hides and very social, which is so amazing. But ordinarily it's a very solo, quiet, meditative time for me. So that quietness, when you're just sitting alone on a corner of the property, you can hear a flame erupt. So normally there should be no flame in the coals, but sometimes a flame will erupt in the punk wood and you can hear it. It's like a so it's just nice to, enjoy the quietness and pay attention, really pay attention. I have definitely burned hides only once did I singe a hide. Another thing to really keep in mind, with the little basket, is if your hides have long dangly pieces, like if you've skinned out leg sections of your hide, so your hide has very narrow dangly legs, you want to really make sure long dangly parts of the hide don't end up like falling through the basket. You want them to rest on top of the basket, heaped around it. Because if a part of the hide dangles in the hole and you don't know it, it's going to dangle too low and get too hot. And that's often how edges of your hide will get singed. Like the hair will get burned or the skin will get burned. So watch out for that. That's pretty much it. It's so simple. Smoke pit. I am certainly not the only person who does those, I'm sure. It's very basic. That's how I do it. I love it. Yeah, just a little shout out if you are just watching this for the first time, these videos. All these freely available videos on YouTube are supported only by my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/stormsofdaylight. So if you enjoy these and benefit from them, they are an epic amount of work for me to put these videos together and put them online, especially here on the countryside. Oh my God, the slow internet and just everything's more difficult. So whew, it's a multi-day process just to do one of these little quick videos. So if you enjoy them, if you benefit from them and just want to support them and say thank you, I appreciate so much support on Patreon. You can join for like a couple bucks a month just as a supporter, or if you want, you know, a few extra videos a month, then you can join a higher tier and get a little bit more. That's all for now. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.